about competition, not cooperation, in a purely capitalist society. So Bernie believes in democratic socialism. And it took a while for people to understand that. The state of Vermont certainly understands that. That means we want more information, more participation from people, more involvement in decision-making from the people in the state or the city or the country. And yet we want to know what your needs are, because we believe government plays a role, an important role, in making sure that there's a safety net, that nobody falls through the cracks. I had that experience firsthand with my dad, being ill for so long. He was in and out of the hospital every year until I was 14. And my two older brothers had to quit high school to help support the family. They went to night school. Two of them went to night school. My oldest brother, who had quit as well, went to become a blacksmith in Brooklyn, and a city. So, because he loved horses, because my dad used to bring him to ride. And when I was 14, he took my father to the hospital for the umpteenth time and said, I have horses. We have to deal with this issue. My father is ill every year for the last 12 years with something else. One thing, then it's something else, then it's something else, starting from an infection during his pin and his broken hip, much too information. But anyway, he said, well, we need to deal with what the underlying problem is. And they said, oh, no, we don't do that. Insurance covers only the presenting problem. So if there's an issue that he's having now, if it's diverticulitis or thrombosis or whatever it is, we'll deal with that. And he said, no, I do that for my horses. You'll do it for my father. I will pay cash if I need to. And they did, and he did, and my father was out of the hospital for another 10 years. And that, was every year before that. And that was a political awakening for me to recognize that our government was not taking care of the very basic needs of people. Healthcare and more bankruptcies are caused due to medical problems in the United States than anything else. So it seemed to me, I didn't know what democratic socialism was then, and I never thought of it that way, but I thought, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. This isn't fair, that if you have money, you can take care of your problems like that, and if you don't, you might be in and out of the hospital and having many, many more money problems over the years. So I think that people equate socialism in America, equate socialism with communism. And I think Bernie's presidential campaign actually quelled that a bit.
Yeah, it's a great achievement of Bernie's campaign, I think.
Right, but of course, if he didn't put a label on it, who knows what would have happened. Yeah. And that's the thing. You have to express yourself, you have to educate the populace if you're a politician. Hopefully you're leading and you're educating as you try to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
So take us through the process then of Bernie deciding, I'm going to run for president. Was it a process or was it a moment?
It was interesting because we used to talk about the fact that almost every senator gets up in the morning, looks in the mirror, and sees the next president. So, and it wasn't him. He never had any interest in that. But he kept on looking. It was very frustrating to be in the Congress and see the incremental change that it had to take place over so much time. And he was forcing the issues out there, but people weren't moving. inside. So we talked about it, and we actually talked about, well, what if we floated the idea? Maybe they would pay attention to the issues. The media would pay attention to the issues that you were talking about. And then we thought, no, it's not a good idea to do that. We have to, only if we're really interested. So we talked about it, and he felt like the best thing that he could do to focus on the major issues, the $15 minimum wage, healthcare, college tuition, and a number of other things.
Because no one else was doing it.
Right, no one else was doing it. The best thing he could do would be to run for president, or have somebody else take that mantle and run. And nobody else was doing it, and it looked like it was going to be Secretary Clinton had cleared the field. She had all the support of everybody in the Congress and in the mainstream media. It was obvious. Right before there was even a race. And we said, well, you know, we just have to do it. I kept on saying, well, can't you get them to do it by writing a book or by starting an organization? And he would say, well, we've already got this organization, that organization, and I've already written a book. And we were talking about it, and I was aware how negative politics is in America, and that it's the politics of personal destruction. I mean, it's not enough to defeat your opponent. You have to destroy them. And we don't do that. We just have never and will never do that kind of campaign.
No, but there must have been a part of you, I would imagine, you know, that obviously would be supportive, but at the same time, because precisely of what you're saying, because it's so vicious, and because Fox News and all of that hatefulness is out there, surely there's a part of you saying, let's not run for president. I mean, who would bring that on themselves?
Yeah, I did, and I would say, I would come up with all sorts of other ways that we could make just as much of a difference. And we were back and forth, and he said, I won't do it unless you want me to, unless you're on board. And I said, well, you know, whatever you decide, I'm going to be behind you. I'm not wild about it, but if that's what you feel you need to do, I will be with you. We went to Denny's for breakfast, and we were sitting there talking about it, and that's the point we were at. I just said that again. We were kind of at a stalemate, and a veteran came over, and he said, I don't mean to interrupt or intrude, but I wanted to just thank you. I got my benefits after 30 years of trying because I finally called your office. He was a victim of Agent Orange in the Vietnam War, and he said, and I can't tell you what a difference you've made in my life. And he said, if you run for president, because it was talked about, I will do everything I can to get you elected. I really hope you do. And with tears in my eyes, I got up and I gave him a hug, and Bernie shook his hand, and he left, and I sat down and I said, I give up. I give up. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's all it took. I mean, he was ready. He just wanted that, and so we did.
What about things like the lack of privacy and security around you all the time? And did you consider that?
I didn't really. I didn't think about that. One of the you learn a lot. You know, I didn't think about the Secret Service being there all the time. They had a little cabin. You know how you go into a ticket booth and you have to give a ticket? It was about that size, and they had a little cabin in there that was. They watched. Somebody was in there all the time, and in the back of the house, and in the front of the house, there was a car with 3 people in it there all the time. We didn't expect that, but they got to see a lot of baseball games in the backyard, and Bernie was thrilled when he finally could drive his own car again, a little Chevy Aveo. He was very happy to do that. But that wasn't the concern. The concern was the viciousness, having experienced it at a much lower level in Vermont a few times, going out to pick up the newspaper and having a knot in your stomach saying, I wonder what's going to be in there today. Who's going to say what? It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be said and reported, and then it's reported and reported and reported.
Yeah.
So that was the stumbling block, and the taking time away from our family.
Yeah.
But our family just, went with us, did whatever they could. So.
We were in the States that summer.
Yeah.
The conventions and all of that, which I as an electoral junkie, I followed every moment of. And I remember coming across one day the wonderful Facebook page, We Want Jane Sanders as First Lady. And I searched today just to check that the title of it was correct. And I see it's still there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we still want Jane Sanders as First Lady. It says.
That's very nice.
So, yeah, the First Lady, though, what do you feel about that? I mean, is it a bit of an anachronism in this day and age that somebody who is not elected, but who happens to be married to the president, has this kind of imperial status on the one hand, and then in another doesn't really have power? I mean, you are an adjunct of the president. Yeah. Is it?
Well,
would that have been difficult for you?
No. I think that I always find it interesting that families are kept away from being recognized as contributing to the person's success, and yet a chief of staff or a legislative director, somebody that's been with them forever, as a friend, has become a friend, as a coworker, is perfectly acceptable. That it's okay that they bring those people along. So I don't think that the spouse should have any power, but I think that in America, at least, they look to see who are they, who is their family. Are they, in a nice way, and not too intrusive usually, although that's changing too. But I think the voters should know the whole person. And if you know the whole person, you need to know a little bit about how he or she relates to their family. And it would have been a great opportunity to just provide assistance and help.